Guys, and welcome to another video. So one of the very first videos on this channel was an Amigurumi pattern book review. I chose 5 of my favorite pattern books and reviewed them, talked about the pros, the cons, all that fun stuff, and people love that video. It has over 2,000 views, which for like a more popular YouTuber, obviously that's nothing, but for me, a newbie almost completely new to YouTube, YouTuber. Most of my videos get, 100 or so views. 2,000 is insane. So obviously I've been wanting to do another video on pattern books for a while, but I did really want to make sure that I really gave the pattern book some time and didn't just, go out, buy some books, take a glance at them and then review them. No, I wanted to make sure that I had time with them. I wanted to give an honest, full review on these books. And they were books, obviously, that I bought because I was interested in them. They weren't just bought for this video. So, with that, let's get this started. So I wanted to start with a pattern book that I almost included in that first video. It just didn't make the cut, I guess. I wanted to just focus on 5, as most of my videos do, because I feel like more than 5 is a lot of content. And I try not to go over the 30-minute mark, but sometimes it is more difficult, and some of my videos are pretty long. So we have the Kawaii Crochet Kit book. Now, I got this at Barnes & Noble, and it came with a full kit. So, like, kit with yarn, stuff like that. Now, the interesting thing with this kit is that there was not enough yarn for a full pattern, or maybe one pattern. But there's a lot of patterns in this book, and there is only like this teeny little bit of yarn. And I think like a crochet hook and some fiber fill, that kind of stuff. But like, not enough to do any significant projects. It was kind of actually a little bit disappointing when I opened it and realized that there was barely any materials in that box. But the book itself is actually really good. I like it quite a lot. I've done a few different patterns in here at this point. There's a sloth, a little dog, an owl, a cat, a corgi, a narwhal, bird, a T-Rex, and a little pug. And there might be more than that too. Honestly, I don't remember. Now, I learned from the first video that when I show full pages, I have to be careful to censor out the patterns because obviously the publishers and the authors of these pattern books won't appreciate me showing off the full pattern online. So I will be showing limited pattern stuff, but I will censor out as necessary because there are a few things I do want to point out in here. So it talks about supplies you might need in the very beginning. It also talks about basic crochet stitches, terms, things like that. And then you get into the patterns themselves. So there is not a ton of how-to information. So if you are a complete newbie, it doesn't go into a ton of detail, just FYI. Something I really like about these, and again, I'm going to be censoring out some of these pages so that I don't show off the entire pattern, but like at the very top, there are little like, I don't know, like sayings and things about what you're crocheting. So this little cute picture of a sloth saying don't worry, be happy. And the cute facts are the skills are napping and energy efficiency and always smiling. I have actually seen a sloth in person, by the way, just as adorable in person. Super, super cute. I was down in Costa Rica and we just saw one in a tree. It actually came down to like, not came down completely, but it was moving quite a bit more than what you see with most sloths. This one too, again, I'm going to try not to show you too much pattern, but the little cute kitty, if I fits, I sits. Everybody who knows cats knows that they sit in boxes, so that's nice. cute facts, cats own the internet, and I do believe that's true. I mean, my cat thinks she owns everything, so there's that. Everybody says the narwhal looks like a whale, but like, I mean, it has a horn. That makes it a narwhal. It does say for the narwhal that the cute facts are the internet's alias is unicorn of the sea. So yes, it is in fact the unicorn of the sea. So yeah, just a cute little book. If it is possible, which I don't even know if it is possible, I would recommend trying to get the book by itself. The kit is just not worth it, but you might have to get the full kit. I'm not sure how that works. I have seen it most recently at Joann's. I was trying to remember which craft store I was at. I saw it at Joann's. It was in the kit, but it was a smaller looking kit, so they might have condensed it down even more. But I mean, if nothing else, you get a tiny little skein of yarn and some fiberfill that you could use for something. So yeah, I do think this is very cute. I do think it is kawaii, as it is called. The projects are pretty small, so just keep that in mind that they are pretty tiny. They're not substantial. I mean, you could make them bigger if you use bigger yarn, but I did use acrylic when I was making these. So yes, that was the Kawaii Crochet Kit project book. Again, it comes with a kit if you want said kit, but the pattern book by itself is also just adorable. So next we have these mini Amigurumi birds book. I got this because my mom is a big fan of birds, and I figured I could make her some birds. Now, super cute. You have all of these little bird patterns. There's a lot of different ones. All the ones that are on the cover are within here. So you have the cockatoo, the macaw, the toucan, the hummingbird, peacock, ostrich, emu, flamingo, penguin, rockhopper penguin, puffin, kingfisher, blackbird, robin, blue tit, seagull, stork, owl, pigeon, swan, eagle, duck, bat, hen, chick, and egg. And then you can see all of them right here and all of their cuteness. So this one is one of those that I mentioned where everything is in UK terms, and it does tell you that right from the get-go that all the patterns in this book are written using UK crochet terms. So that is just something to keep in mind. It talks about all the things that you will need to get started. I do think there are some basic, yes, crochet techniques, but again, this is one that doesn't have a ton of information, so if you are a complete beginner, it might not be the easiest for you to use. Now, something about this book that I am not a fan of is it's one of those books, and there's several pattern books that do this. There's another one on this list that does it, where it refers to an earlier pattern and has you use that earlier pattern. So, I mean, and I get it, it's to save space, you know, it's using the exact same pattern, so they're just like, okay, refer to this pattern and do this. But it annoys me because I don't like having to flip back pages or flip forward pages. I just want to be able to see the whole pattern in one place. So that's just a little pet peeve. Like, it's not the end of the world. It just annoys me a little bit. So like, for example, I did the rock hopper penguin. So let me find that. And it says for the body, using black yarn, make the body following the instructions for the cockatoo on page 12. So you have to flip back to page 12 to see the cockatoo, and then you flip back to page 27 to do the rock hopper penguin, and back to the cockatoo, because also it looks like the head is also following the cockatoo pattern. It's just annoying. I'm not a big fan of that whole thing, I guess. It's just weird. I do think proportions were a little bit off on this too. I don't know how they were off, but I followed the pattern exactly and things just didn't look right, or maybe that's just how they are. I don't know. Maybe they use just different yarn weights. But it just looked a little bit odd. Just things were not looking the same as what they did in the pictures. Again, I will put a picture here for you to see. I did the rock hopper penguin so you can see how that turned out. Not horribly fond of it, to be honest, but it's fine. There were also very limited assembly directions in this. And I guess I forgot to mention, but the last book, they had okay assembly instructions. This one just had very little. It was just like, sew the breast to the front of the body before sewing on the feet and wings. So nothing about which crochet, what rows, you know, it didn't tell you where to put things. And I don't like that. I like to have exact directions for where to put my sewed pieces. So, because I hate sewing as it is, so I want as much instruction as possible for it. Yeah, but those were my biggest complaints. I do think there's a lot of cute patterns in here. I think they all kind of follow a lot of the same shape. So that's going to be interesting. And honestly, I told you I bought it because my mom likes birds. I had her flip through this book and she did not like most of them. And she's a bird person. So I think they just look a little bit weird. I don't know. It's probably a personal preference thing. But the lack of assembly directions and the lack of the full pattern for each individual piece, like you have to flip back pages, does annoy me. I mean, I did end up making something. It turned out somewhat like it should. So it wasn't a complete failure, but it is definitely not my favorite book. So next we have these adorable houseplants to crochet. If you saw my last pattern book review video, you know that I did a plant book in that one as well. I am a gardener, so I do like the idea of crocheting plants. I think that's, you know, it's cute. And this one has cacti, and I don't have, I mean, the other book that I had didn't really have any patterns for cactus, cacti, it is cacti, I think. Anyway, so I was really excited to be able to do a cactus. So, this one is a nice little book. You have, table of contents, but look all of these pretty plants. Oh, they're so pretty. And just like this blue background is really pretty too. I don't know. There's also like, if you notice, there's different types of things too. So they actually have like a, I don't know, like artwork kind of situation on some of the things. And this like little wreath thing. So it's not just your potted plants in here, basically. So then you get full pictures of all of your things, which we have a framed fern, a spear orchid, bunny ear cactus, jelly bean plants, thumb cactus, Tephro-cactus geometricus. And this is the one that I did, by the way, so I will put that picture up in a second. Eucalyptus wreath, drumstick flower, and it just goes on, and you have a bunch of different types of plants. So then after you have all those pictures, you have kind of some materials. It talks about the things you might need, because some of these are very structured plants, so you do need wires and things like that for some of them. Now, the other material that is necessary for this is pots. I know. So the other plant book that I talked about in the previous video, that had you crocheting the pots. And I really liked that because I didn't have to go out and get a pot. This one, you do have to provide your own pots. And like, I was like, okay, maybe I could crochet my own pot anyway, but like, I was just like, I don't know what the dimensions should be. I don't want to go through all the work of crocheting a pot and then find out that it doesn't fit. So, yes, you do have to provide your own pots unless you can do the math and figure out what would fit, which you could do. I just was lazy and didn't do that. But I do really wish it would provide a pattern for a pot. I think life would be so much easier. But then it does have some pages on techniques, and it is a little bit more descriptive, I think, than some of these other books have been. So a little bit more new crocheter friendly, I would think. Um, there's a lot more information here. There's like 6 pages worth of information. Now, these are in American terms. They do use single crochet. Something I do like about these is that the beginning of each pattern, there is like a little important note if there's any certain things that people need to pay attention to. There is also a little hint. Now, this author does recommend a certain type of yarn to use with the patterns, but they also say that you can technically use whatever yarn you want, which I generally don't go out of my way to buy specialized yarn. I'm too much of a cheapskate for that. You can see how much yarn I have over here. I don't need to buy more yarn. As long as the weights are similar, I don't even like necessarily match brand of yarn or anything. I just get yarn based on color usually, which I talked about in my acrylic yarn review if you want to check that out. But yeah, so this is the pattern that I made. It was that, Maya's in the way, of course, Tephro Cactus Geometricus pattern. It does also, by the way, give you like a little like how much time it should take kind of situation. I feel like it took me a lot more time than that, but as I've said before in these videos, I am a slow crocheter. But yeah, I do think that these patterns are very good. They're very detailed. As I said, they're a little bit more complex than some other patterns I've seen, but they're very detailed. You can just tell just when reading the pattern because there's just a lot of instruction there. The assembly directions as well, they tell you exactly where to place your pieces, and it makes life so much easier. My one gripe with this is that, you know, I showed you those pictures in the beginning of the book, and that's pretty much what you have to go to for reference photos. You have to go to those pictures to check. Or with this particular one, it is on the cover of the book. Maya's claimed it. So I could flip to the cover to look at it, but most of the patterns themselves do not have a nice, convenient picture. This one has a small picture at the very end, but you do have to, mostly for a nice big picture, go to that page, which it does tell you at the top which page it is on. So it's not terrible. It's just a little minor thing. But yeah, so I think I do recommend this book. I think it was pretty easy. I really liked how the cactus came out. Like as I was making it, it felt really hard, but I think it came out very well. So I am quite happy with it. So yes, adorable houseplants to crochet. I would definitely recommend this one. And next we have one of these Zoomigurumi books. So if you've ever been on Amazon, there's a lot of these. This particular one is number 6. I got this way back towards the beginning of my crochet journey because I liked the red panda. I thought the red panda is adorable. So I wanted to do the red panda. But when I made that last pattern book review, I had actually not used this yet. I had started to use it a couple of times, but the patterns are pretty long, so I kind of just didn't. So it's hard to review this whole book because it is a compilation of different patterns by different pattern authors. So basically that means that the formatting is not going to be identical for all of the patterns. Now, as you can see from the back here, there are a lot of different animals. This is one of those pattern books, and most of the Zoomigurumi seems to be this way, where a lot of the animals are wearing clothes, so if that's your thing, great. If not, I guess you could leave the clothes off, because that is also what I debated doing, because I am not an animal wearing clothes kind of person. I just don't like it. I don't know. I just want to crochet the animal by itself. So it does start out with your table of contents, with which all of these, by the way, have names. All of the patterns do. So the one that I did was the red panda, and her name is Rudy, and Maya's... Do you see this? Oh my gosh. Anyway, sorry for that. She just decided to be very mean and attack me for no apparent reason. I don't remember what I was saying, but I did see while I was holding this that it does say projects cover a variety of skill levels from beginner-friendly to suitable for advanced crocheters and accompanied by easy-to-follow instructions and explanations of all the stitches used. Which, yes, I think that's what I started to say, is that I'm so mean today. There is an explanation of stitches here at the beginning, and it does go over all your different types of techniques. There's a decent amount of information. Again, there's not a ton of information, so depending on your skill level, I don't know, you'll just have to make that decision. Yeah, there's about 6 pages worth. Nope, never mind, 7, 8 pages worth. So actually, it's not terrible. So yeah, and then it goes, it's so cute. Look at this. It all goes into your patterns. Which I do want to do obviously more of these eventually, but these are big patterns. A lot of them just take a long time. They cover several pages, especially the red panda. The red panda starts on page 63. And ends on page 67. So, like I said, some of these patterns are probably have more information than others and are probably easier to follow than others. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about comes specifically from this red panda pattern. Okay, I need to remove her from the crowd. She's being mean. And we're back. Sorry about that. She is just not being a very nice kitty today. She just was trying to attack me as much as she can. She's just in a mood, apparently. So yeah, I will mostly be talking about just this red panda pattern, and flipping through, most of the other patterns seem to follow a very similar format. But this one specifically, it's just long, basically, was my big thing. It just covers so many pages, and it was just getting, I don't know, hard to follow. But it is a bigger project, and that is why, of course. There are instructions for some of the things that you would expect. So, like, there's an excellent little portion on how to put the body together. The pictures are great. The assembly directions are great for that particular part. And it makes it really easy to follow. But then the assembly directions just go, sew the ears to the heads, sew the head and tail to the body, sew the ears to the head, singular. Anyways, there's not a ton of information for that particular part. So yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. You have some assembly instructions, some not so much. If I go back to a different pattern here. Okay, so this one has some information about where to put it, and this one has absolutely no assembly instructions, so maybe there's no sewing. I don't know. So it really is a mixed bag of what you're getting with this one, because it is by so many different pattern authors. I do think it came out really well. I really like it. I've gotten a ton of compliments on this thing. I think it's really cute. Everybody thinks it's a fox. It's not a fox. It's a red panda. I don't know. I guess it kind of looks like a fox. Also, I do think the proportions are a little bit weird. Like, the head is huge compared to the body. But I followed the pattern exactly, so I'm not really sure why proportions are so weird. Anyway, yeah. So, a little red panda from the Zoomigurumi book. Zoomigurumi number 6. So, finally, we have the Little Mini Kingdom crochet book. This is another one that I've had for a while, and I just had not gotten around to crocheting any of the things. I think it's super, super cute. I'm not personally one to crochet dolls, things like that. I usually just go animals, plants, non-humans. But I do think these are just super cute because of all like the detail. But that is something that you have to keep in mind with this, is that it is crazy detailed. So a lot of work, basically a lot of little pieces, things like that. So this does the same thing that which one was it? The bird book did, in the fact that it gives you a master pattern on page 15, and then you use that master pattern for a lot of the other patterns. So it's another one where you have to keep flipping back and forth, and I'm not terribly fond of that, especially since this pattern literally only takes one page. I mean, come on, it's not that long. But yeah, master pattern. Something that I really, really like about this, though, is that there is a ton of information on the techniques. So, like, it starts on page 4 with materials, and techniques ends on page 16. So there is a ton of information. So if you are a new crocheter, it could definitely come in handy, especially since these all have little QR codes. I don't know if you can see here, but little QR codes that go over exactly how you can do that crochet stitch. So super nice and handy. So if you do better by reading, you can do that. If you do better by watching the video, you can do that. Now, I did check out a couple of these QR codes just to kind of see what the content was like. And I will say some of them have sound, some of them don't. So if you're someone who needs sound, that could be an issue, but it seems to be hit or miss. So yes, and there's like little things even for like the different types of stitches, which like sewing stitches, which is surprising because usually most things just say sew, then you've got to kind of figure it out. So yeah, that's super nice. It also has little pictures about how to do the detail work on some of the amigurumi. So like see here, you have a lot of little pictures on that. Super nice. So, like I said, though, this is one where you have to go back to the master pattern for a lot of these. So I was working on the dragon. So, it is a higher skill level, but I just really liked the dragon. I thought it was cute. I did make it in another color because I thought green was boring. I don't know if it was successful in the new color or not, but regardless, I tried. Something that's really cool is at the beginning of each of the patterns, there's like a little Amigurumi gallery QR code where you can go and it'll show you pictures of people's finished projects. But also there's like a little forum where people can ask questions about certain parts of the pattern, which I really like. It looked like it wasn't being utilized too heavily for this particular one, at least. But I just think the idea is really cool where, you know, sometimes when you're working on a pattern, like working on crocheting a pattern, let me say it like that, you run into a piece that you just don't get, and you can't usually reach out to the publisher and be like, hey, what do you mean by this? So this is really neat that there's a little forum where you can go and ask questions for other people who are using the book, because, you know, they might know the answer. The assembly directions do seem like they are pretty helpful. It does say exactly what rounds to put things in, where to crochet things. Also, apparently there's different versions of sewing things. So like it says standard version, page 16. So again, you're going to have to go back and look at that page. But yeah, overall, it does seem to be pretty detailed. Now, this does use a super lightweight yarn. It tells you right from the get-go that is what they recommend using. They also have the exact colors that they would use for things. I completely ignored all of that. Like I said, I went into a different color, but I also used a much heavier weight yarn just because I'm not really a fan of lightweight yarns. 3 is usually the lightest I'll go, and yeah, no, I just didn't want to go. So my project is going to be a much bigger than any of these. But, you know, that makes it cute in its own way. But yeah, overall, I think this book is very easy to use. I think it has a lot of really cute patterns. My one complaint is just the master pattern. I do not like having to go back to another page to find the pattern for the pattern I'm working on. I just think it's just annoying. I don't know. I know it's very picky too, but it's just not my favorite. Anyway, overall though, I do think that there are a lot of really cute patterns in here, and that the instructions are very easy to use. So both big benefits. So yeah, this is the Mini Kingdom crochet book. So that was all of the Amigurumi pattern books that I wanted to talk about. I hope you kind of learned something. Maybe if there was one that you were thinking about buying, maybe this gives you inspiration to buy it or to not buy it. I don't know. Yeah, just hope it was helpful. If you liked this video, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And I need to go try to calm this demon child down. So I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.